Hi there, I'm Lisa Taylor, and welcome to the program. I am so happy to be back. It has been a while. It's been a minute. Metaphysical mindset, what does that mean? Everything comes down to, where is our thought? Are we believing in matter? Are we believing that what we see with our physical eyes and in this material universe, do we believe that that's real? Or do we understand that what we hold in our thought, what we hold in our mind with a small m, is what's going to be in our experience? Metaphysical mindset, metaphysical science is another way of talking about it. The person that I talk about all the time who did all of these experiments in homeopathy and finally ultimately called her system Christian Science also calls it metaphysical science. Mary Baker Eddy, the discoverer and founder of this science, did an incredible amount of experimenting through all different modalities of healing to come to the conclusion that what we hold in our mind, what we hold in our thought, is what we're going to have in our experience. And if we want to see healing in our life, then we need to pay attention to what our metaphysical mindset is. Are we focusing on matter? Are we focusing on spirit? I had a really interesting experience last weekend when I was challenged with a very, very strong sense of illness that kind of took me down, overtook me. I haven't felt that physically ill in a really long time, years. And, was kind of delusional and hallucinating, and like it made me go off in a place that I haven't been in a while. So the only thing I could do, knowing that, practicing this science and practicing metaphysics for my whole life, knowing that that is a solution that I can turn to, but somehow the form that I was using, somehow the way I was thinking it through, wasn't working. I wasn't getting better, I was getting worse. So I came to a point where I was late at night, everyone else was doing their thing, sleeping, and I was awake and suffering. And I thought, okay, my thought shifted. And I think this is critical to the process, and those of you who are in the practice of using metaphysics understand this. My thought shifted from me battling with a problem that was my problem that I was trying to overcome, to recognizing that, okay, there's an issue here. There's this huge suggestion going on that I'm somehow not recognizing as a suggestion, and I'm taking it on as my own. I shifted into, okay, let's do an experiment. Let's practice what you preach, Lisa. Put your money where your mouth is. Start practicing metaphysics in this moment and use this as an example of how this stuff works. So my thought shifted from poor little me, I feel like crap, to, all right, let's demonstrate this science that's already been proven by so many who have gone before. We stand on the shoulders of giants. Let's demonstrate that this works. And I had just read an article that was talking about, there were kind of two key things. One was, God is all powerful, God is good. There's nothing that you can do or not do that is going to prove that or make that more real than it already is. It already exists. God is. So get it off yourself, Lisa. Get it off of your little ego, thinking that you're going to prove this in some way, shape, or form. No. So that was one thing that came up in this article that I read by this guy, Milton Simon, who's a really wonderful metaphysical thought leader of the late 18th century, early 19th century. Or hundreds, I should say, not century. I always get that backwards. That was one point. The other point was that thing that we've talked about here many, many times, keeping your mind so filled with truth and love that nothing can enter it. There is no evil, there is no space for evil to fill and no door through which evil can enter in a mind filled with goodness. So that was kind of the other concept, metaphysical concept, law that I was working with. And I thought, okay, I'm going to just, the go-to statement that came to me in that moment was the scientific statement of being, which starts out with, There is no life, truth, intelligence, nor substance in matter. That's by Mary Baker Eddy, and it can be found in Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures, the book I quote all the time. I focused in on that statement, the whole of that statement. I was just giving you the first line of it, and just repeated it over and over and over again, because honestly, that's all I could do. I had no sort of awareness of my spiritual being in that moment. And I knew that that statement was truth, and that if I just kept my thought filled with truth, that I would become more aware of truth. And it's really hard to articulate what happened in the next several minutes, but I'm going to describe it this way. And of course, analogies are always not perfect, so just bear with me. It was as though this malware computer program was running my system, and I was being operated by this malware had kind of taken over my system of thought, and this malware was running. And saying the scientific statement of being and filling my thought with truth was like this other program coming in and overwriting the malware. So what occurred in my experience was two things. One, the symptoms immediately started to recede. And two, my thought was, I don't know how else to describe it, but to say it was like going up, it kept going up levels of awareness of truth. Like I became more and more conscious of the reality of God, more and more conscious of good, more and more aware that the ideas that were coming to me were good ideas instead of kind of the malware ideas of before, which were, oh, I feel terrible. I feel like this constant refrain of how horrible I felt and how much I was in battle with the suggestion, rather than just acceptance of the truth. Very, very quickly, I became peaceful in the understanding of the reality of God, of truth, of my nature in God as God's expression. So it was this process that, if you look at the experience of me battling the suggestion for a couple of days, having to fly on a red eye, having to do a lot of work, and just being dragged down, to this night, the amount of time that occurred when the shift in thought happened was so small compared to the battle that had gone on prior to that. I knew in that, I don't know what it was, 5 or 10 minutes, I knew I'd had my healing. I knew I'd been healed. What did that mean? I knew that my thought had shifted, off of me, because I had decided I'm going to do an experiment. So that was like the first step, getting the thought off of me having a problem to, okay, let's look at this suggestion over on the side and let's see it as an opportunity to demonstrate this science. So that was like the first step, unselfing the error, separating the error from me. And the second step was keeping my thoughts so filled with truth and love that evil couldn't enter it anymore. There is no door through which evil can enter in a mind filled with goodness. And I was experiencing that, and experiencing a higher and higher level of awareness of good. So the physical symptoms receded immediately. I found a level of rest and comfort that I had not had in quite a while. And though I didn't sleep a lot because I was in a city with a lot of noise and there was a lot of that going on, I felt rested and I felt myself, to the point where I got up the next day and knew I was healed. There were still some symptoms kind of carrying around. I was like blowing my nose or doing different things, but I had my energy back. I had my thinking back. And I guess that's what I want to say more than anything. My metaphysical mindset was intact. I was thinking clearly in terms of who I am as a reflection of God. I was thinking clearly. I was not following the lead of the suggestions, the malware that had been plaguing my thinking and keeping me in this loop of negative, sick, diseased, diseased thought. And the healing has been complete. I mean, there's no residual, there are no side effects from this kind of medicine, which is kind of nice. I mean, there in the physical realm, there's all this opportunity to take medicine of a different sort, and it comes with a lot of side effects. The only side effect of metaphysical treatment is peace, contentment, a better sense of well-being, but all of these side effects, which are really good. So I just encourage you to claim spirit instead of matter. Claim having the ability to see through a metaphysical lens instead of a physical lens. This stuff works. And if we could just get that false sense of ego out of the way, thinking that we have some problem that we have to do battle with, you know that phrase, what you resist persists. I stopped resisting the suggestion. I started saying, okay, yeah, there's a suggestion coming in loud and clear. So I have an option. I have an option to demonstrate this thing, practice these metaphysical laws that we talk about here all the time. I have that option. I have a choice. It goes back to that other video I did. We have a choice. But choosing to see it as a suggestion and to see it one step removed from you is a really important point. At least I can say that from my own experience. Separating the erroneous suggestion from who you are is critical in the practice of metaphysics. Because as long as you're identifying the problem with who you are stuck in resistance to a problem and trying to solve a problem. And that's exactly what the false sense of ego wants us to do. Only every time. The false sense of ego comes up with a problem, presents it as your problem, and then gets you to do battle with it. Because it wants to think it's all that. And it's going to find some solution. Well, the solution in its mind is do battle with it, which just makes it worse and makes it stronger. So the first step is recognizing it as a suggestion. It's not you. It's not your thinking. There is no mind separate from God. Recognizing that it is a suggestion of mortal mind. It is a suggestion of material sense. So we're talking spiritual sense, cultivating our spiritual sense, cultivating a metaphysical view of life, cultivating a spiritual fitness, a fitness for spirituality, cultivating that in our daily practice, cultivating that in our thinking, which is, to me, the most critical part of this, having a metaphysical mindset, recognizing the thoughts that are not your thoughts, that are suggestions of mortal mind, and claiming what's true about you, that your mind is a manifestation of God, mind, the one mind, which is all metaphysical and nothing material. It is all spirit and nothing matter. It is all truth and no lies. It is all love and no fear. It is all principle, law, steady, constant. There's no wavering. There's no faulting. There's no ebb and flow. God is constant. This metaphysical science is a sure thing. So that is my message to you. That is what I just wanted to share what I've been experiencing so that perhaps it gives you a little window into something that you can recognize in yourself. We all struggle with the beliefs that would run us around. We all struggle with inconsistency, pain, suffering, all of that stuff. Feeling unworthy, feeling less than. We all struggle with it. But having a practice of metaphysically approaching life, spiritually approaching life, is the thing that will turn it around for you quickly. And when we're practiced at it, just like a musician doing his scales, if he's practiced at his scales, he can hit the notes when he plays the piece. We can recognize the error when it comes to us in a form that's being subtle and trying to sneak in through the grass. So, I love you guys. It's nice to be back. Thank you for watching. Share this out if you think somebody might like it or get something out of it or, feel uplifted by it. That's kind of the point. It's like, let's share. Let's all share. And please, please, please feel free to put into the comments any experience that you had where you feel like this resonated with you and you have something to share where you can say, oh yeah, I have a metaphysical mindset and I have experienced this shift that has changed my life in some way. That's what we need to see. That's what we need to hear. We need to hear from all of us. All of us need to speak up. And if video isn't your thing, that's fine. Write it in the comments or, send me a private message or an email and just let me know and I'll share it for you. But I love hearing stories if you are wanting to share that. All right. Lots of love, you guys. Talk to you soon.